Good morning, folks. This is Jen Espinosa-Goswami coming to you live from my page over at Be Weightless. How are you doing this Thursday? I am super excited. I just came back from my shower, obviously. But I wanted to hop on because I've been having a lot of phone conversations with people over the past few weeks. And by the way, if you have not connected with me on a phone call yet and you are in this community, what are you waiting for? I would love to learn more about you, what your goals are, so that I can better serve you through not just my live stream videos, but also through my products and services. So I don't have products, through my services. So if you are in this community and we have not connected on a phone call, I encourage you to look at the link that I am popping in the comments and schedule a phone call with me. I do have limited spots for the next couple of days because I am enrolling for my program, but I'm happy to chat with you regardless of whether that program is a fit for you or not. Cool. So today my live is titled Ain't Nobody Got Time for That. And this has been coming up a lot in my phone calls, which is why I wanted to bring it up. But this is somewhat inspired by that meme. And I know life is not lived in memes, but I really like them, and it kind of gave me a little chuckle, and I kind of joke about it from time to time, is that meme where it shows a woman, I think she's African-American, she's got a really like upset look on her face, and the letters on it, or the words on it, say diabetes. Ain't nobody got time for that. And it's not funny to make fun of diabetes. I have people in my family who have had diabetes or do have diabetes. So it's not necessarily poking fun at diabetes. But when I was watching TV the other day, there was a commercial that came on that said, I don't have time for a car tire change or rotation. So this phrase seems to come up a lot, that you don't have time for something. And so I wanted to address this because one of the biggest frustrations I hear from people who are looking to improve their health is not just how much work they have to put into it, but how much time they have to put into it. So I wanted to address this because I think there's a misconception around, first of all, how long it takes you to improve your health, and second of all, how you're currently using your time. So we're going to talk about those two main things today in today's live stream. If you're joining me live, say hi so I can see who's joining me. Or if you're watching the replay, please comment with replay so that I have a better idea of who is joining me on the replay. Okay, so let's talk about time. You might see people online who seem to get it all done, right? They're like full-time career working moms. They have a big family. They feed their kids all organic, healthy food every single day. And they volunteer for their church and their community. And they just like seem to do it all, right? And you're like, how on earth does that person find time to do this? I can barely find time to brush my teeth and shower every day. By the way, I'm not immune from this either because yesterday I literally didn't shower until like 2 p.m. So I have those days too where I feel like I don't have time. That's a myth. Feeling like you don't have time is not the same as not having time, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So, you see these people who seem to just kind of get it all done, and it's effortless, and it's easy, and it's no big deal for them. First of all, it is a big deal for them. They just don't make a big whoop about it, right? I mean, they're just prioritizing in a different way. Second of all, we all have the same amount of time to work with. There's 24 hours in a day. Some of us sleep between 6 and 10 hours a night. We all have the same amount of time to work with because time is finite. We all have the same amount of days in a week. We all have the same amount of days in a month. We all have the same amount of months in a year. So regardless of what you feel like you can accomplish in that amount of time, we all have the same amount to start with. So these people that you see online who are killing it and doing everything and superwoman or superman or whatever, it's not that they have more time. They certainly don't. It's that they're prioritizing their time a little bit differently and perhaps focusing their time a little bit differently. So this comes up a lot for me too, because when I started losing weight about 100 years ago, 20 years ago, I was a college student. So I had just graduated college and I was going into the workforce. My first time, my first job, very exciting times for me. I was working part-time at the time. So from that standpoint, you could say, well, I had plenty of time. I was single. I didn't have any children. So in that sense, I did have plenty of time. However, I still was job searching. I still was doing it all. And there have been moments in my life where I was literally doing it all. I was going to school full time. I was 35 hours a week. I was supporting myself. I was using the bus to get to and from places. I have had many moments in my life where time was at a minimum, and I still have been able to reach the best health for my age and stage. As another example, when I was working full-time corporate and I was building my health coaching business on the side, I was working full-time, so 8 to 5, dropping my kids to and from school. My husband and I kind of split children duties. I was nursing my kids. My youngest kid I nursed until 2 years old, so I was pumping at work. I was doing all that business. I was still finding time to make my own food so I could take healthy meals with me to work and I wouldn't be tempted by the cafeteria, which cafeteria food is no good. And I was still able to exercise every morning. I would get up at 5:30 a.m. to exercise and then have enough time for shower, breakfast, and dropping kids off at school before work. So I made the time. There's quote is from, but someone who says, show me where a person spends their time and money and I'll show you what they care about. And that's 100% true. Understanding that we all have the same amount of time to work with, and understanding that we can prioritize the time that we do have regardless of how crazy busy life is. And understanding as well that I personally have been able to achieve my lowest weight when I was the busiest in life and had the most balls I was juggling in life. Now you may be saying, well, that's great, but I don't really have time right now to commit to XYZ. And I hear this a lot of times. So my latest program, Let It Go, is a group health coaching program. We have weekly calls of 1 hour long, 1 hour during the course of a week, where you show up, you share what's going on with you, you check in with your questions and concerns. It's 1 hour of time, folks. It's not like earth-shattering, you got to spend 10 hours a week doing this. And I've still had people say, oh, I don't know if I have time for that. Let's look at those 24 hours in a day, okay? 24 hours in a day. So 8 of those are gone because approximately you sleep about 8 hours, right? I mean, most of us try to sleep 8 hours. Comment below with how much you sleep, how many hours on average you sleep during the night, because I'm really curious. I think a lot of people are sleeping a lot less than 8 hours. So you sleep 8 hours. So remove 8 hours from 24. I'm going to have to do math. That leaves you with 16 hours to play with. Okay, so you figure maybe an hour to 2 for a commute to and from work. If you work from home, you get that time is saved, girlfriend. That's your time right there. So you save that automatically. Maybe an hour for you to prep or get ready for your day, whether that's shower, getting dressed, eating, taking the dog out, whatever. So an hour, so that's 3 hours gone there. So 16 down to 13 hours. We do know that, some of us work an 8 hour day. Okay, so 13 minus 8, we've got 4 hours left. Altogether, if you meal prep and plan accordingly, your 3 meals for the day, assuming you don't eat out for lunch, because there are a lot of people who eat out for lunch, that could be another hour to prep for your food for that day. And if you go through drive-through, obviously you don't have any prep, so an hour from that. You still have 3 hours left in your day. What are you doing with those 3 hours? And this is just a total guesstimate. If your numbers are different, I'd love to hear what your numbers might look like. You have 3 entire hours in your day. Leisure time, if you will. It's the time you're not getting ready for your day. It's the time that you're not sleeping. It's the time that you're not working. And it's the time that you're not spending putting together meals. And I'm assuming that your dinner time meal is probably the most time consuming of the meals that you eat during the course of your day. So you have 3 hours approximately, the average person, of leisure time every day, not including your commute to and from work, because we've already accounted for that. So what are you doing with those 3 hours? If we look at some of the statistics of what people tend to do in the US, we're watching TV, right? As soon as dinner is done, we're sitting on the couch, we're watching TV. Maybe you're scrolling Facebook. By the way, thank you if you scroll Facebook, because I'm on Facebook, obviously. So if you're scrolling and watching my videos, I appreciate you. But how much time do you actually spend on Facebook? How much time do you spend on an electronic reader or an app on your phone? Probably more than you think you do. And I'm not here to critique you or judge you for what time you're spending online or what time you're spending on a screen. We now know that our society as a whole is spending more time on screens, and that's just the way it is. And this is not a judgment call, but we know that you're probably spending about 1 to 3 hours doing those kinds of activities. If you could take away 15 minutes from that, not 2 hours, not 1 hour, 15 minutes, what would you replace that time with in order to improve your health? And this is something I help people strategize with all the time. It's kind of funny because health is rather like an organization thing or like a time management thing. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't take any more time to cook food for your family than it does to drive through a drive-through and get it home. Drive-through, you know, they're supposed to guarantee 1 minute, 2 minute service, but sometimes you wait and drive through for 10 minutes and then you're going home. So 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. You can cook up the same amount of food, like a healthier meal, in the same amount of time. Meal prep is not significantly strenuous in terms of what time you have. But you might be feeling like you spend a lot of time on looking for recipes, especially healthy recipes, especially if you struggle with some sort of allergy or intolerance or a dietary restriction. I feel you. I've been there. I've gone through my own journey with trying to go dairy-free. You might have seen some of my blog articles about that, but it's been quite the experience. So maybe you spend more time planning, thinking, but not prepping. Is that a good use of your time? Now let's talk about exercise, because this comes up a lot. I talk with a lot of people who struggle to keep a consistent exercise routine. Maybe they hate it. That's okay. You don't have to like everything that's been told to you is appropriate for exercise. There are plenty of cool things you can do that are fun and that can really move the needle for you, that don't involve a gym, that don't involve some of the things that you've been conditioned to believe, like 5K running. You don't have to run a 5K to be fit, honestly. And you don't have to love yoga either. So there's a lot of, in my age group, so I'm in my late 30s, in my age group, yoga is all over the place. Oh, do yoga. It's going to relax you. Things. I don't really personally care for yoga. It's a great workout. It stretches you in many ways, mentally and physically. It's just not for me. So, so some people hate exercise. That's fine. But a lot of people, even if they like exercise, say, I just don't have time. Just don't have time. So those 3 hours of leisure time that we figured out that the average person probably has during the course of their day, if you're not on the TV or you're not falling asleep on the couch or you're not scrolling Facebook, you could be spending 15 minutes to 30 minutes exercising. And that doesn't mean that you have to get in the car, clear out your driveway of whatever crap is there, tag the kids along, you know, get everyone dressed, get everyone ready, go wait at a treadmill and stand on the treadmill for 15 minutes. That's not what I mean. When I mean 15 to 20 minutes worth of exercise, I mean where you are. You can drop and do squats. You can do push-ups. You can do sit-ups. That is exercise, my friends. That is exercise. And most of us have 5 or 10 minutes during the course of our day, if we find the opportunities for those, that we can do these things because they don't take a lot of mental capacity. You don't have to be like, how do I do a squat? What do I need to know? What comes first? No, you don't need to know all of this. You already know that. It's like riding a bike, right? So, you know, you don't have to get certain clothes on. You can do it in whatever clothes you're in. I have squatted in, well, except for heels. Make sure you kick off your heels if, ladies, you're wearing heels. But you can squat in literally everything, from dresses to skirts to shorts to pants to yoga pants to jeans. You can squat in anything you're wearing. Don't have time for exercise. Even if you exercise for an hour every day, which most of us do not, that is still giving you 2 hours left of complete leisure time after that. You can chill out, you can still scroll Facebook, you can still watch TV, and yet you can still feel good knowing that you got your exercise in. We all have the same 24 hours in the day, and we know that approximately, taking away all the work time and the life time, you have about 3 hours of time to play around with. I don't have time. Another thing that I hear people saying, aside from, you know, the nitty-gritty of I can't find an hour in my day, you don't have to find an hour in your day. You have to rethink it and say, can I find 10 minutes? I can guarantee you can find 10 minutes to do something, whether it's to find one recipe and get the ingredients for that recipe, to prep some things like boil some rice, you know, defrost some chicken, You have 10 minutes to spare. You want to go do some squats, you want to do some push-ups, you want to do some sit-ups. Those are things you can do in 10 minutes and still get your heart kicking. But I also hear another thing in regards to time that doesn't have to do with minutes or seconds or hours. And people will tell me, it's not the right time for whatever. How do you know? How do you know if it's the right time? Most of us don't like have hail falling on our heads and saying, it's the right time. It's time for you to do this now. And an example I bring up for this that I think is very pertinent. When I was the first one in my family to have children, even though I'm the youngest in my family. So I had a daughter. And then my older sister got married. And I asked him, like, oh, when are you going to have children? Just for fun. We have that kind of relationship. It wasn't pushy. And she's like, oh, I just don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if it's the right time. I have a slightly different perspective on that. There is no right time. When I found out I was pregnant with my first daughter, I was not prepared. And it definitely wasn't the right time, if you will. But it happened, and I was not going to stop it from happening. So, when it comes to the right time, we usually don't have the right perspective on ourselves and on our lives to know whether it is the right time. Even more than that, we don't have a person in our life who can direct us to say, this is your time. There is no right time. There is now, or there's later. And if you wait till later, it becomes part of that loop of habits, right? The I will do it later, the I will think about it, the whatever, the procrastination gene or the procrastination tendency, that means that you're never going to do it. If you don't do it now, if you don't decide that I'm going to take action, regardless of whether I know that this is the perfect time, you're still going to make progress. You're still going to get closer than you were yesterday or the day before. And you will be happier with your future self because you would have taken that first step. So when it comes to the right time, we often don't have the right perspective of our own situation to know whether it is the right time for us. And given when you look back at certain things in your life that happened, maybe they happened to you, they were unexpected, and you had to adapt and deal with it. Maybe you're like, well, I didn't know it was the right time, but that was perfect for me at the time. As you're looking back on things, it's easy for you to say, yes, now I know that that was the right time. When you're in the moment and you don't have that future perspective where you can look back on it, then you won't know. You won't really understand if it's the right time for you. This is why I like to tell people, okay, so if you're considering jumping into something, whether it's a health program, whether it's a business venture, whether it's a family decision, if you're deciding or you're at that point where you're trying to decide about something important and big and life-changing and whatever, give yourself 24 hours. I do this for myself personally, and I feel it's very helpful because beyond that 24-hour point, you're probably not going to do anything. But if it's compelling enough for you at the end of 24 hours that you're like, I still want to do this. I don't know if it's the right time. I don't know if I can be effective at this. I don't know if I can even do this, but I'm still really compelled and I'm still really drawn to it. If that's your feeling at the end of 24 hours of first being presented with this idea, you should jump right in because you will never know if it's the perfect time until you're 6 months into it, until you're 1 year into it, until 10 years later, and you're like, I'm so glad I made that decision. And I only waited 24 hours. And I don't know if there's any research studies that show 24 hours in terms of making your decision. But that's what I have to say about not just the amount of time you have in the course of your day or your life, but also how you can know whether it is the right time for you. I have literally had people I've had conversations with every year at different times of year, so it's not just at New Year's, different times of the year, and I'll check in with and I'll say, hey, I remember last time we connected, you had this certain goal, and even 3 years later, they'll say, oh yeah, I just never really got anywhere with that, but next year looks good. No, next year doesn't look good unless you've already made the decision to change. And that's not to say that you have to work with me or not at all. But what I'm saying is you should decide to do something. And you should find something that's compelling enough to you after 24 hours of being presented with it. They're like, this is it. I feel good about this and I feel drawn to this. Not necessarily that you feel good about your chances of success and return on investment, but that you're drawn to it and it still feels very interesting to you after 24 hours. Jump right in and don't look back, my friends, because this is where change happens. Change happens with a decision. If you don't make a decision and you're constantly in that limbo state, you're never going to change your life. I guarantee it. So that's what I have to say about Ain't Nobody Got Time for That. We all have the same amount of time, same 24 hours in a day. And how you utilize that time during the course of the day will show you what your priorities are. So you can give lip service to things that you think matter to you, but if you're not spending your time on those, at least an hour of the 3 hours per day you have to play with that, then it's not a priority of yours. I'm just calling it the way it is, my friends. If you're not spending at least an hour a day on your own health, then it's not a priority for you. And when it comes to health, I'm very general and broad. It could be exercise, it could be food prep, it could be appointments for preventative care like chiropractic and acupuncture. It could be going to the doctor. It could be scheduling appointments for yourself that are important for you to move to that next level. Health is very specific to you, and I'm not going to tell you what that looks like until we had a phone call. It could include journaling. It could include meditation, whatever includes self-care for you. So you can take an hour of time in your day, and it doesn't have to be an extended, continuous hour. You can take it in 10-minute segments. Okay, so my dog is sitting on my lap, and she's irritating the heck out of me. We all have the same amount of time, but if you spend your time in the right ways for you, and you spend at least an hour on yourself, then that's when you know that's a priority for you. Facebook doesn't need to be your priority. Screens and TV and entertainment don't need to be your priority. If they are, maybe it's time to shift your thinking around that. And then finally, I'd like to say in terms of the right time for you, I can't tell you what that is. What I can tell you that if you still are on the fence, in limbo, undecided, after 24 hours and you no longer feel drawn to it, you're never going to do it. It's not a yes. It's a no. And you can say, oh, it's going to happen next year. It's going to happen 6 months from now when I'm less busy. You will never be less busy. You will never be less busy. There will always be something that shows up for you. And how you prioritize the time you do have is showing what matters to you and what you're willing to invest in. So just keep those things in mind. I would love to hear from you. So you're watching me, you've been watching this video. Comment below with something that you frequently run out of time for. And again, this is not me judging you or shaking my finger in your face. It's just to understand and help you create awareness around what's a priority for you. Can you comment below what you frequently run out of time for that matters to you? Like, for example, if you say, I really want to hit the gym, but I never have time for it. Or I really want to start a meditation practice, but I never have time for it. Or I want to have lunch dates with my partner, but we never find the time. Whatever it is, I'd like to hear from you what you run out of time for. And if it's a fit for you, I would love to connect on a phone call. I help people find space in their day to prioritize their health. I look at your daily habits, your daily patterns, your weekly patterns, and where you would like to go from a health perspective, and I help you bridge the gap between those two things. I help you find time in your day. And that's not that you're adding onto your to-do list, because that feels very overwhelming for a lot of people. Instead, we leverage the opportunities that we already have and that currently exist. Would you like to use more of what you have and do it in a smart way so that you're not adding to your list? Instead, you're subtracting things that no longer help you? Then I would love to connect with you for a free 30-minute phone call. I'm not going to pressure you. My scheduling tool is down below, so make sure you click on that. And thank you so much for joining me today for Ain't Nobody Got Time for That. If you had time to watch this video all the way through, give me a thumbs up, because I want to hear from you if you've watched this video all the way through. because this is a 24-minute video. So I'm curious to hear if you've been able to watch this video all the way through. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. I'm going to a seminar on nutrition for mental health. So I'm always learning, I'm always expanding, I'm always finding ways to serve you. Let me know if there's a particular topic you would like me to address next week, which will be Tuesday. I'm not doing it at 9:30 in the morning because I have a conflict right now, but I'll do it Tuesday afternoon and I will confirm with you the time. So thank you for joining me live for this video. Ain't nobody got time for that. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I appreciate you. And let me know what you'd like me to talk about next week and I will go live with your favorite topics. Have a good day. Bye-bye.